All right, so today I'm going to be showing you how to do your oil change. This is something that's very simple on all cars, something that everybody should know how to do because it doesn't take that long and you're going to save a lot of money in the long run. So just to give you an idea, the oil and the oil filter costed me a total of 24 bucks. So if you have the socket set, the paper towel, the torque wrench and everything like that, you could do your own oil change for around 20 to 30 bucks. So the only things that you're going to need is you're going to need something to lift up the car. So I'm going to have a set of ramps just like these to lift it. You could also use a jack and jack stands, and just look in your owner's manual. It's going to show you the points on where to lift your car up from, and just put the jacks on those points, secure it with the jack stand, and then you're ready to go. So once you have the car lifted, you're going to chalk off the rear tires. You can use a piece of wood, it'll do the same job as this. You're going to need something to catch the oil once you drain it. You're going to need some basic hand tools. I'm using a socket set. You're going to need paper towel, a funnel, obviously the oil filter, and then you're going to need some gloves and glasses if you don't want to get dirty or get anything in your eyes while you're under the car. So there's only 5 things that we're going to need to do, and we're going to start off by lifting up the car. Then we're going to drain the oil. Then we're going to change the oil filter, add in our new oil, and then just check the level, make sure everything's all topped up nicely. So to do an oil change, you're going to need an oil that's meant for your vehicle. There's a bunch of different viscosities such as 5W30, which is the most common type that you'll see. Then there's 10W30, 0W30. Then on top of that, there's conventional and synthetic. So it could get kind of confusing on which one to choose. But that's why manufacturers made a owner's manual. So you can see in my car, it's asking for a 5W30 type of oil. And since I'm living in Canada, it's -20. You guys can see with all the snow on my Subaru, that I'm going to be using the 5W30 oil. If I lived in warmer climates, somewhere more southern in the US, I'd be using a 10W30. So that's what I got. I picked up a 5W30 oil. This is a non-synthetic oil. My car doesn't require a synthetic one. But if you're wondering, you could put a synthetic oil in your car, even if it had conventional before that. You don't need to do anything special to switch it over. You could just switch. And that's why this oil was so cheap. It's only costing me around 15 bucks for this 5-liter jug because it's conventional. Synthetic, you're going to be looking to spend around 40 to 50 bucks regular price. Keep in mind, I did get this on sale, so that's why it was also so cheap. Now, my owner's manual, I couldn't find how much oil my car takes, so I just simply went on Googled it, 2004 Jeep Liberty, and it came up with 4.7 liters. Someone got that straight from the service manual, which I don't have. So for your oil filter, you want to make sure that it's one that's designed to fit your car. If you go to your parts store and you go to where the oil filters are, you'll find either a book or a computer to look up which ones will work. So Canadian Tire has a nice tablet, and what I had to do was look up the make, the model, the year of my car, and then it gave me a list of all the different filters that will work on my car. And if you keep scrolling down, it gives you a list of the different oils that you could use in your car as well. But I wouldn't trust this because it's asking me to grab a 10W30 oil here when, since it's cold out, I need to grab a 5W30 oil. So once you picked out your oil filter, just remember the manufacturer number and then go to the shelf and look for the filter. And on the box, you'll see the same manufacturer number. So that's how you know you're grabbing the right filter. And you can also see too, on the cap where you fill up the oil, it will say the type of oil that you need. You can see it says SAE 5W30. So that's another way you could check which oil you need. So once you have the oil and oil filter, we can lift up the car, and we're going to be lifting it up with some ramps. You can also use a jack to lift it up if you don't have a set of ramps. You can also use the one that comes with your vehicle. And if you're going to use the jack method, just look in your owner's manual and you'll see the different parts, different places where you can lift your vehicle up safely so you don't damage anything. So with the ramp method, you just want to grab your ramp and just slide it under the front tires. And then just make sure it lines up nice and straight with the tires so that when you drive up, it sits on it properly. And I like to use this method because all you have to do is line up the ramps and drive your car forward. So once the car is lifted, just make sure that your vehicle is in park with the handbrake up and you're good to go. And don't forget to chalk off your rear tires as well. So now pop your hood and locate where you fill your oil from. We're going to give this a good wipe down so that there's no dirt or debris on it, so that when we open it, it doesn't get into our oil system. And then once you open it, we're going to just set it aside. And this will allow air to get on top of our oil to help it drain a bit faster. So next you want to go under your car and locate your oil drain pan. You're going to see that it's going to have a bolt like this, and it's usually going to be black in color. So you just want to find a socket that's going to fit over the bolt. So when you take this bolt off, a lot of oil is going to start coming out. So make sure you have your oil catch pan to catch all of it. So there's the oil draining out. It's just finishing up, and it's going all into my catch pan right down here. And you're gonna see, so this is the oil drain plug, and on some of them you're gonna have a washer or a gasket that's on them, and every time you do an oil change, those need to get replaced. So once it's done draining, just give the area a nice wipe down with some paper towel and go ahead and plug it back up. Now there is a torque spec for this bolt, so you're going to have to use a torque wrench to tighten this bolt down to the exact amount. You could do it by hand, and most people usually do tighten these down by hand, but these oil pans, the threads on them are not very strong, so if you were to strip those out, now you just turn the 15-minute job into a whole day job. So I'm just going to grab my torque wrench, put it on, and torque it down to 25 foot-pounds. So the next thing we have to do is take off the oil filter. Mine is towards the front of the car. This is the front, there's the front tire. So if you come up right from the bumper on an 04 Jeep Liberty, you'll see it right here at the front of the engine, right beside the, it looks like the crankshaft pulley. And then if you come from the top view, so you have your alternator, you go down from there and you'll see it from the top view. So sorry for the awkward camera angle. This is the best way that I could get the camera to actually see what's going to happen. But basically, we're just going to grab this and turn it by hand. You shouldn't need any tools. So I don't know if you can see this, but right now a lot of oil is coming out. And I'm just going to unscrew this all the way. And we're going to take it off. So once it's off, just clean up the area with some paper towel. So with the old filter off, right down there, now what we got to do is we have to prep our new filter. And by prep, I mean we're going to lubricate this rubber gasket that goes all the way around, and we're going to fill it up with our new oil. So filling this up before we put it on the vehicle will make sure that our engine gets oil pressure sooner. Oil pressure is what makes sure that the oil can travel to all the places that it needs to go. So now my oil filter does sit on an angle on the car, so I'm not going to fill it up too much, just a little bit. So it is better than nothing. So now we're going to take some of that oil and we're just going to make sure that the gasket is nice and covered in it. So when you reinstall this, you don't need no tools, just make sure that it's nice and tight with your hands. Alright, so now we can add the oil. So just make sure that your oil drain plug and your oil filter are on. Otherwise, all this new oil we're going to add is just going to drain right out. So again, my car is asking for 4.7 liters. This is a 5-liter jug. So we're basically going to be adding all of this. We're going to have just a little bit left over. You don't want to underfill or overfill your oil. With too low oil, you can have low oil pressure, or you can have just not enough oil to lubricate everything that you need to. So you can actually reduce the life of your engine a lot. And you don't want to overfill it either, because your oil pan is directly underneath your crankshaft. And if you overfill it, your crankshaft could be sitting in that oil and introducing air into the system, which will just completely degrade the quality of oil. And that's the whole reason why you change your oil. It's not because you run out of oil. It's because the properties of that oil actually degrade over time. And you need those properties to be able to lubricate everything properly. But yeah, so just take your oil and start pouring it in. And you can see when I pour it in like this, it's kind of like not pouring out smoothly. So if you were to turn the jug sideways, now it pours out nice and smooth in a nice stream. And that's it. So there's a little bit left in here, so that should be roughly 5.7 since it's 5 liters. So once it's filled up with oil, just take out the funnel and then put back on the cap. So now just remove the wheel chocks and lower the car back to the ground. And what I like to do too after an oil change is reset the trip back down to 0, so that now this will start counting up as I drive, and once it reaches 5,000, I know to change the oil. So the last step when doing an oil change is to check the level of the oil. So to do that, find your dipstick, pull it out. Then you're gonna want to give it a good wipe down with a paper towel, get it nice and clean. Then you're gonna put this all the way in, all the way down until it clicks. Then pull it back out, and we're gonna take a reading. And you can see it's in the safe area, so it's good. I just had the engine running, so there's still some oil in the engine. So if you take your reading when your engine oil is cold, which it is right now, your reading is going to be a bit lower than it should be, just because the oil hasn't had time to expand because of the heat. It's still cold. So if you want an accurate reading, warm up your engine for 10-15 minutes, let the oil get nice and hot, then turn it off. Let your car sit for 5 minutes to allow all that oil to drain back down to the oil pan that your engine was circulating throughout it, and then take your reading, and it'll be a lot more accurate than doing it right after your oil change. But my oil level was in that safe area, so we know that the oil level is good. We changed our oil filter, the oil drain plug is torqued down properly, so this oil change is done completely. So this video is probably very lengthy just because I'm explaining different things and I'm explaining why I'm doing certain things. But I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it so that people who have never changed their oil know how to do the job completely, know how to do it fully. So I hope that this helped, and I hope you guys have some good luck with changing your oil at home.